2012, the Glenn Gerberg Weather and Climate Summit. It's a beautiful day here in Breckenridge, partly sunny or partly cloudy. We should have a session on that someday, on what the difference is. Today we're going to get right into the weather briefing with Dale Eck. Dale, as you know, if you've been watching us during the week, is the director of the Global Forecast Center at the Weather Channel. And after Dale, we'll show you the agenda for the rest of the day while we set up for Jennifer Francis from Rutgers University. So without further ado, let's take a look at the video so you can get a little bit more acquainted. Oh, okay, sorry. We'll go right to Dale for the weather briefing, and then we'll play the video. Here's Dale.
All right. Thanks. I think the biggest thing we've got going on is that winter has returned to the eastern part of the country. Just took using Google here to do a quick contour of the snowfall amounts over the last 24 hours. You can see it reaches well on down into Kentucky to down to Nashville, the mountains of North Carolina, and up through the Appalachians. And the snow really picking up now in the lake effect areas. The snow in New England came yesterday for the most part, and it was followed by a pretty good freezing rain event in Vermont, New Hampshire, and parts of upstate New York last night. So some of these amounts, I did look at some up here in Wisconsin. See that little bullseye there? 29 inches of snow. As that upper level low wrapped up, you got the lake enhancement off of Superior, and they ended up with 29 inches of snow in Guile, Wisconsin. The UP, some amounts of 12 to 18 inches of snow there. In the lower peninsula, northern lower peninsula, we had amounts of up to 10 inches. And around Illinois, in eastern Iowa, and southern Wisconsin, amounts of 6 inches were pretty common into central Illinois. And then for much of the rest of the area outside of New England, amounts were generally in the 1 to 3 inch range.
Incredible how it stopped right at the Canadian border.
Yeah, I know. It's amazing. No, just the data set is just for the United States. So here's obviously what is the big news with the winter returning. Temperatures the past 24 hours dropping considerably from the Appalachians on westward. You can see in northern New England, though, we still have yet to get that frontal system through there. It's about to move through New York City. Some rain and snow mix there right now. But again, quick shot already. The high plains warming up over the past 24 hours up to 15 degrees. Here's a look at your readings this morning. You can see it is cold for much of the country, the lower 48, with some below zero readings at Fargo at -5, and those winds continue to howl. The other thing we thought it might die down, there's a little bit of a short coming through Wyoming, and that's going to keep the wind up here today. We were, for those who were out skiing, and it was kind of a windy, cold day, probably going to have to prepare for the same today. And a lot of wind in the northeast, winds gusting up to 40 in New York City, 43 at Hatteras, and you combine that with those cold readings and some pretty nasty wind chills out there. Down near 0 all the way down to Cincinnati, Ohio, 1 in Pittsburgh. So some cold readings out there this morning. As we look for highs today, you can see temperatures will be chilly in the eastern part of the country, even down to Tampa, 60 degrees, and Miami, 75, still pretty nice there. And those readings are, we've got a pretty good swath of below normal temperatures for today from the Great Lakes area down on through the southeast, but already you can see up into North Dakota, South Dakota. They're going to get back above normal, and they are. The above normal readings in the northeast, those are temperatures this morning. Things will start to drop as we go on through the day.
Yeah, but that's
just departures from average highs. So what the forecast high is and how that compares to average.
I was struck with the fact that even though that's a pretty good shot of cold air, it's not all that.
That's right, and that's what we've been seeing this year so far. We've had some shots, and because it's been so mild, it really feels cold and winter-like, but when you really put it in perspective about how cold it can get in January, we just haven't seen a real strong Arctic air mass come down into the lower 48 yet this winter. And then there it is by Sunday. We're going to get another big warm-up coming into the Plain States, and actually the coldest of the weather is going to be in New England as we go into Saturday night and Sunday. A cold game up there Saturday night in Foxborough. And then we look at the Northwest. We do have some stormy weather coming in there and may bring cold enough weather that it's a marginal that Seattle and Portland could get a little bit of snow. And we're going to be setting ourselves up for a very wintry pattern in the Northwest as we head on into next week. So here's the current surface map. The main player in town is definitely this low pressure system moving on through New York State. A lot of reports now from Binghamton to Syracuse to Buffalo of moderate to heavy snow right now. And we're also getting some reports of that as well in northeast Ohio, even as far south and west as Columbus. Saw some heavier snow this morning, and the heavier lake effect snow continues up into the western portions of the state of Michigan. So our forecast for snowfall, it's going to be a pretty good lake effect situation, as we're looking for 8 to 12 inches of snow in Erie, 4 to 6 right in Cleveland, but just east of there the amounts will be higher. Western Michigan up, and then the Fort Wayne, South Bend area, going to get some pretty good snow. And then there is that, we were looking at that little clipper. It's pretty much going to bring maybe an inch or two of snow down toward Minneapolis and then kind of dampen out as it pushes its way onto the south and east. That's going to be later in the period. This is the 48-hour snowfall. And then as you look off of Lake Ontario as well, 8 to 12 in Watertown, 5 to 8 in Syracuse, and then even that west to southwest flow coming off the lakes will bring some pretty good snow to the ski resorts of Vermont as we go on through after they get the front come through. That'll be tonight, tomorrow, and into tomorrow night. And then just quickly looking ahead late in the period, we're looking probably into Saturday night, looking at some snow as the next system comes into the northwest. You know, obviously the Cascades will get it, and even in Seattle itself and Portland, this is our forecast of maybe up to an inch. It'll be, I was talking to Matt this morning. He said, yeah, it's definitely a marginal situation right in the city itself. That's the dog in the snowstorm. Yes, the dog on the float in the snowstorm. All right, so we will taking a look. Here's a look at the satellite loop, and the main feature, you still can see the upper level low pressure system here in the eastern Great Lakes. There's that little short I was talking about, bringing some clouds, no precipitation, but that's going to keep the wind up here for those skiing this afternoon. And then there's your Pacific moisture. Pacific system is going to be moving in as we head on through. A pretty good low there out west in the central Pacific. And a little bit of an upper level low here may bring clouds and maybe a few light rain showers into Southern California over the next couple of days.
Low south of Anchorage is the one with the cold air that's going to drop in and bring us to
Okay, right in here, this one? That one right there, okay. Yeah, that's the one that is.
a little blurb on TV about how Alaska's had the weather.
Oh yeah, they've had, it's, yeah.
Alaska canceled school today because they're afraid the snowpack will crush the
Wow, Valdez. Yeah, it's definitely been winter in Alaska. So there's the, let's see here. So radar, pretty much you can see most of the action up into the northeast part of the country with freezing rain, and then you get into the snow and the lake effect snow. Much of the rest of the country quiet. There's that little clipper we'll be watching as it moves down toward the Minneapolis area over the next 48 hours, closing in a little tighter on the northeast. Again, into most observing stations in Vermont, New Hampshire, and into Maine are reporting freezing rain this morning. So some really rough travel there. And then, you know, this is what that system we were tracking across Tennessee yesterday, or through Missouri, was moving into Tennessee as that's moving up into New York with the lake enhancement, really kicking off some very heavy snow. As I said, Binghamton, Syracuse, Watertown, a lot of moderate snow reports there. And then you get into the lake effect here in western Michigan, northeast Ohio, and into western Pennsylvania. And we showed those snow amounts there. So let's take a look at the GFS model as we go on through. This is this morning, again, the big story in town is the wind around the lakes, the lake effect snow. And as that system brings the cold air back into New England, we'll probably see the freezing rain change back to another period of some accumulating snow, especially on into the mountains of the northeast. Watching our clipper here as it comes on south and east, going on through tonight and then on into tomorrow morning. So you may get an inch or two, maybe 3 inches in a few spots, but that system's really going to dampen out as it spreads southeast. We continue to get the lake effect, and then that starts to wind down as we head into tomorrow afternoon, and then that's when Baltimore's playing, I believe. So it'll be a brisk, cold day in Baltimore for the game there. And then by tomorrow night, some pretty cold wind chills, maybe in the single digits to below zero up in New England. So Foxborough will be chilly. And then that system departs, and then what we'll be tracking is a lot more action in the northwest as we go on into time. This is Sunday, looking at some rain and maybe some snow starting to pick up there. And as we said, conditions will be marginal. The next front now is going to be moving through the Rockies into the plains, and as it does, we'll start to see things moisten up out of the Gulf of Mexico. So we've got some rain and maybe mainly going to be rain, no real forcing for any severe weather, and that moisture will start to feed up into the front as we go on through Monday and Tuesday, while the west will have a series of systems. The models right now probably not going to pick out the details, but as we go through the next 7 to 10 days, it's just going to be a progression of systems into the northwest, cutting through the Rockies. Probably going to be some snow here on Monday and Monday night as the jet comes on through there. Going to watch this low pressure system as it tracks north. May encounter some colder air, so might be some more wintry weather for Iowa up on into the lakes region as we head on into Tuesday and Wednesday of next week, while rain is the dominant story again, even from southern New England all the way down to the Gulf Coast states. It's only in the Great Lakes that this system will likely bring snow. A lot of wet weather once again, even into central New England, down on into the Gulf Coast. Well, the northwest, here comes another system moving into the northwest as we head on into, this is Tuesday evening, and then on into Tuesday night into Wednesday morning. Pretty strong system moving into the northwest with a lot of wind, rain, and then, with this high pressure system in British Columbia, a lot of the interior sections will probably be dealing with snow and probably some ice as well. So it's going to get very active in the northwest as we go on into the latter half of next week. And then even there, the jet shifting south so that the dry areas, I don't know if people noticed, California really is transitioning quickly into a pretty decent drought, given that they've had such dry weather through December and into January. So this is some good news in the fact that as we head on into the latter part of next week, the jet starting to be a little more active in the west, so that should really help all the mountains of Montana, Wyoming, down into Utah and Colorado. Things should start to pick up later next week, and even into the Sierra we'll finally start to get some snow, while the onshore flow brings some rain, and there's another pretty strong system heading into British Columbia and into the west coast. So looks like the pattern's shifting for the west, which is a good thing. They really could use the moisture. Taking a look real quick at temperatures, tracking them on the 850s. Hey, why can't I find it? There it is. So here's, actually I didn't want that. I just took a look at the Euro. Here's the Euro 850s as we go on through time. This is what we're looking at right now. A cold shot in the east, and then you'll see as we head through late in the weekend, early next week, quickly it warms back up into the plain states, while the northeast stays kind of chilly there for Sunday evening, and that football, Saturday evening, Sunday, the football games won't be too bad in Green Bay on Sunday as things really start to moderate as we head on into Sunday afternoon. Then continuing ahead again, we continue to see some very cold air building in Canada, most of Canada well below zero at 850, and at times we'll see some of that air try to push down into the U.S. We'll get another shot into the east and southeast behind that front that'll bring the rain. That'll be on Wednesday and Thursday. It warms back up ahead of the next system, but then colder air and the jet really being active now across the kind of the northern tier of the country, bringing some of that cold air from time to time down into the lower 48, but it still keeps the vast majority of it across up into Canada and skirting the U.S. Just going to show real quick, I'll show the GFS 850s. This a little bit colder. It seems to have that main boundary a little bit farther south. So there's our current cold shot, warms up into the plains Sunday, and then as we head into next week, that next front brings another shot of cold air into the east and the northern Rockies. So it's really pretty sharply cold right across the northern tier. And as you watch, just going through time on the GFS, while it still has the core of the Arctic air up in Canada, it's at times bringing a little bit more of it. Here we're looking out to 240 hours into the northwest U.S., northern Rockies and the northern plains, and it brings another shot across the Midwest and Northeast. And still a lot of cold air there from British Columbia into eastern Canada that is available. And as these storms continue to track into the west coast and across the country, at least we're going to probably see a little more winter weather, especially across the northern tier. See, as I was looking through, and we didn't get into the details, just to even see something we haven't seen this year is just some storms bringing snow to the northern plains like North Dakota and Minnesota. So things looking a little bit more like winter, but at least as of yet, nothing on the models saying it's going to get all that brutally cold anywhere. All right. We'll be right back with our next speaker, so stay tuned.